I committed 10 years of my life to our tiny family-owned technology company, helping it grow from a struggling startup to a $50 million operation. However, success has a way of exposing people's darker qualities, even those who are supposed to support you. I remember when it happened. My name is Ava Mitchell, and here's how I learned that sometimes your family can be your worst enemy, especially in business. All started when our family firm was only a small computer repair shop in a strip mall producing enough money to get by. My father had founded it 20 years before, and despite its challenges, it was his pride and joy. Lauren was always the golden child. My father preferred A's elite business school, and I was the quiet one who stayed behind to support him while working in the shop. Ava, I believe your talents could be better used in other activities. During Lauren's time researching theoretical business models, I saw the potential in that small shop. Lauren would often advise me to establish more ambitious objectives when she got home from school, but I was too preoccupied to listen. During my final year of college, I was learning how the real world worked. I was coding, fixing systems, and uncovering market gaps that no one else was looking into. During that time, I designed our first proprietary software, a simple but effective inventory management tool for small businesses. Although not original, it was affordable, user-friendly, and met a true need. My father was first skeptical, but when local businesses began obtaining licenses, his perspective changed. "Maybe you're onto something here, kiddo," he added. For the first time, I saw a glimmer of pride in his eyes. That moment meant everything to me. If only I had known how brief it would be under my leadership, the company began to grow. I worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week, dedicating everything I had to our success. Lauren was working her way up the corporate ladder at a prominent consulting firm in New York, and I was producing something real. Over time, our basic repair shop grew into a full-fledged software development firm with clientele ranging from local to national. After 5 years of transformation, we generated our first $1 million in annual income. Lauren's interest in the family business rekindled at that time. After leaving her high-profile job, she returned to her hometown. She made her big reveal over a family dinner. "Ava, you should not work yourself into the ground," my mother would say to me in a concerned tone. At work, she would bring me food and remind me that I needed to get a life outside of this, but I couldn't help myself. It's conceivable I was still looking for validation. I sat there, fork in hand, trying to figure out what was going on. Lauren was taking over the company I had created since its inception. "It was time for me to take the position that I deserved within the firm," she said with the confidence that is characteristic of her. "With my business skills, we can take things to the next level." When I heard what she was saying, I became really excited. Despite my worries, I agreed to the plan and nominated Lauren as co-chief executive. Lauren had no prior experience in our industry, but her father felt that working here would benefit our organization's reputation. As a result, I remained focused on product development and operations, while Lauren handled investor relations and marketing. Our company developed during the next 5 years, but tensions remained high. She portrayed herself as the company's ambassador, giving interviews about being a woman in technology, receiving entrepreneurial awards, and taking credit for inventions that she had nothing to do with. I focused on developing new software, expanding relationships, and improving our services, but Lauren took credit for accomplishments she had nothing to do with. As revenues hit $50 million, tensions rose. Lauren ceased my participation in critical meetings and began making decisions without soliciting my thoughts or suggestions. Lauren had scheduled the largest ballroom in the city's most expensive hotel to celebrate Dad's 60th birthday. She invited all of our business contacts to the celebration, which was effectively a networking event disguised as a birthday party. On the other hand, Lauren's way of doing things demanded that everything stand for something. She gradually pushed me to the edges of my invention. That night was the start of my entire transformation. Even though I was simply dressed in a plain black dress, I arrived early to assist with the preparations. Lauren, used to scrutinizing me, said, "You could have made more of an effort." I'd become accustomed to her giving me that look. Regards, Ava. Meetings with company leaders, investors, acquaintances, and family members occupied my focus, so I ignored Ava's presence. Lauren moved around the room, pretending to be a politician while smiling and shaking hands. I generally kept in the background to make sure everything ran smoothly, so I expected a standard speech, perhaps a tribute to my father or some sentimental words. Lauren clinked her glass to draw everyone's attention, right as I was ready to take a break and rest. She began speaking confidently and authoritatively at our celebration of Dad's 60th birthday, but she eventually detonated a bomb that destroyed all of our childhood memories. We're ready to reveal some upcoming updates. Mitchell softly patted my stomach. Mitchell's soft pat on my stomach was followed by abrupt changes. The board has agreed that the company needs unified leadership in order to move forward, she said. She went on to say, for too long, we've been held back by outdated thinking and resistance to change. Lauren shifted her emphasis to mine, and I chose to quit as CEO. As soon as I notice that some people and things are no longer contributing to our progress, I will assume full responsibility. A whisper caught the audience's attention. I remained seated there. As I sat frozen, Lauren carried out her corporate execution in front of our entire network. She said that some people, whose voices were oozing with fake sympathy, are better suited to technical chores than leadership roles. She was talking about me and shaming me. She was referring to my sister. Ava has satisfactorily maintained our legacy systems. However, in today's rapidly evolving business environment, we require vision and quality. To be honest, Ava, you're not well suited for this level of business. I turn to my father and say something to him, but he only nods in accord and smiles brightly. The mother, on the other hand, kept her gaze down and her hands slightly quivering on the table. Lauren continued, her voice trembling as she spoke. Ava, after achieving tremendous success, it is time for you to respectfully move aside because you have no value in today's business climate. It is evident that you do not have a professional business degree and your concepts are outdated. The stillness suffocated me, but I could sense the room's sympathy. I was the center of hundreds of eyes, all of which were waiting for my response. A sound resembling a gunshot shocked me out of my chair, causing me to scrape the floor as I stood up. Although everyone was expecting a ruckus, probably tears or a yelling match, I elected to reach for my wallet instead. The judgment, the unconscious agreement with Lauren's statements, and everything else I had worked so hard on all played a role in this conclusion. I walked over to Dad's table, smiled, and wished him a happy birthday before placing a tiny gift wrapped in a gift bag in front of him. I turned and brazenly walked out of the house, leaving behind the whispers, the stares, and my sister, who had fooled herself into thinking she had won that night. I murmured softly before leaving the house. I was sitting in my home office, surrounded by patents and trophies bearing my name. Lauren thought she had gotten all she wanted from me, but she had neglected one important detail. I smirked as I turned on my laptop and started typing. I was eager to begin. Tomorrow will be an interesting day because there are many different techniques to running a successful business. In 10 years, I had learned more than Lauren had from all of her pricey business classes. I came to work ahead of everyone else and waited until 9 o'clock the next morning when the sun rose bright and clear, signaling that everything was about to change. Lauren and her father were beaming with pride as they went triumphantly through the building's front doors. Their smiles barely clung to their cheeks. Ava, Lauren exclaimed, with equal parts surprise and displeasure, "What are you doing here? After what happened last night, I believed you'd have the wisdom to stay at home." When I remembered the email I wrote at 3 a.m. to all of Mitchell Tech's significant clients, business partners, and workers to tie up some loose ends, I couldn't help but smile. There is nothing worthy of discussion. Yet, given your presence, it would be proper for us to debate the organization's future. Dad intervened with an authoritative tone. Lauren is currently in control, and the board has given its consent. Oh, the board, I stated that. Taking out my tablet, I tap the screen, and the enormous monitor in the conference room displays a document. You see, while Lauren was busy throwing parties and doing interviews, I was working on growing our company. There are a few things you both seem to have forgotten. I opened another document and zoomed in for emphasis. First, I'd want to remind you that I own 51% of Mitchell Tech shares. When we incorporated 10 years ago, my father offered Lauren and me equal interests of 25% each, while keeping 50% for himself. However, 3 years ago, when we needed funds for expansion, my father sold me 6% of his stock. Do you recall that day, Dad? You were occupied with Lauren's award presentation and unable to oversee the discussions. Lauren said, "That's impossible," as her neatly groomed hands firmly grabbed the conference table. It seems unfathomable that my father would ever behave in such a way. There was more to the interruption than just my bringing up another document. I clicked once more and another screen appeared, this time with court records. My company, Innovative Solutions, LLC, owns the critical program that provides 80% of our revenue. However, Mitchell Tech does not now own this software. When Dad realized Mitchell Tech's licensing agreement was about to expire, he finally gave in and fell into a chair. I looked at the clock and saw that he had made this discovery about 10 minutes ago. The look on his face conveyed the revelation. "The papers you had me sign last week, the ones I didn't read because you were too busy assisting Lauren with the party planning." I had already finished the papers for him. Lauren's demeanor. "I informed them of the leadership changes and my resignation last night, and while you were busy announcing." Lauren was terrified from the moment she snatched her phone, and her unwavering serenity began to disintegrate as she evaluated the many options. "You can't do this," she stammered, and I calmly replied, "You mean I can't take back what's mine?" I was astonished. "Apparently, you felt you could simply charge over the problem because you possessed a master's degree in business administration and your father's permission. Furthermore, it seems you thought you could humiliate me publicly without facing any consequences. Option 1. Once the weight of my statement sinks in, I simply walk away with all of my shares, software, clients, and personnel after I finish speaking. Because Mitchell Tech is no longer in business, you will be compelled to explain to the prominent individuals you invited the night before why the firm's value went to zero in one night." Over the last 10 minutes, my father's face appeared to have aged by 10 years, and he questioned option 2 once a week. I inhaled deeply and met their surprised expressions with a firm, unyielding gaze. I took a large breath. It was my obligation to take full control of Mitchell Technology. You two did not speak up as partners, although you were receiving dividends, but had no say in operations. They offered Lauren severance pay and positive references for her next remote job. Lauren's face changed hue to an attractive red. "You were going to plot the scheme all along, right? You were just sitting there, waiting for the ideal time to make your move, weren't you?" Over here in the back, I couldn't resist a quick and unfunny laugh. "Lauren, I've worked hard over the past 10 years to be a good daughter and sister, and you two have completely ignored me. During that period, I worked hard to build this company from the ground up, and you praised my efforts. At this point, all I can do is prepare for this." It had been about 12 hours since you embarrassed me in public, so I checked my watch once again. My phone rang with a termination notice from another client. The clock is counting down to the last minute. What will happen in the next hour? Documentation and legal representation in a flurry. As the clock struck noon, I found myself sitting in my office alone, admiring the view of the city. Even though I am now the owner of the company that I founded, I can't escape this sense of accomplishment. My family relationships are in shambles all around me, and my beliefs are shattered like dropped balls. My mother arrived to see me that evening, her eyes ringing from crying so hard that they turned crimson. She asked, "Does it have to end this way?" I looked into her eyes directly. My voice was soft but firm as I stressed that they had to fire me and my hard work. She gently shook her head in agreement, but it was already too late. Thereafter, I turned to my laptop and presented her with the ideas I had been saving for future expansions, new product lines, and advances. I'd been saving these plans for quite some time. I weighed less than I had in years. Currently, I'm working on something even bigger, but this time by myself, with Mitchell as my single supervisor. The value of technology has significantly increased. Lauren, having finally accepted the fact that his golden kid had nearly damaged his legacy, landed a job with a Silicon Valley business. Her father retired, humbled but probably wiser. When we do see each other over the holidays, we keep a polite distance, which helps to cover injuries that may never fully heal. When I look at old family photos late at night, I get a twinge of sadness for what we've lost. But then I remember that night at the birthday party, Lauren's look of disdain, the way Dad nodded along with her cruel words. And I remind myself that respect is earned, not given, in both business and family. They discovered their lesson too late. Many individuals in business have heard about my tale. My story serves as a warning about the perils of attending industry events and underestimating the wrong person. I frequently overhear people discussing Ava Mitchell in hushed talks. Aside from the fact that my successes speak for themselves, I was recently asked to give a lecture at Lauren's Business School's graduation ceremony on the topic of hidden strengths. The phrase describes the impact of leaders who do not receive the respect they deserve. My leadership has resulted in the company's success, but more importantly, I have achieved a sense of satisfaction with the decisions I took. I accepted the offer with a sneer on my face and quickly began preparing my opening words. While sitting here in my office with a view of the city, I can't help but recall something my mother said to me in the past. At times, the most impactful message is simply demonstrating that others are wrong. And occasionally the finest kind of retaliation is not to destroy others, but to rise to such a high level that they are unable to ignore their flaws. Wisdom is the capacity to discern when it is time to cease seeking vengeance and instead seek advancement. Nonetheless, success is the most effective kind of retribution. Her correctness was the reason. Now that I've overcome my desire for vengeance, I'm focusing my energies on creating something meaningful, something that will endure beyond the fleeting drama and jealousy that exist within my family. I possess the photo collection that chronicles the evolution of our company from its early beginnings as a small repair shop to its current state. I still possess the wrapped album. Perhaps I'll show it to my father once my wounds have healed and are no longer serious. Meanwhile, it serves as a subtle reminder that the abilities we think are secret are often the ones that others fail to acknowledge. The power of resilience and strategic thinking. In life and business, betrayal often comes from those we least expect. But true strength is not in seeking revenge, it's in rising above, proving our worth, and building something even greater. Ava's story is a testament to the power of resilience, strategic thinking, and self-worth. When faced with injustice, she didn't react with anger. She responded with intelligence and preparation. For those in 2025, especially older generations who have seen the ups and downs of life, this story is a reminder that respect is earned, not given. Success isn't about fighting for recognition, it's about knowing your value and letting your achievements speak for themselves. Sometimes, the best response to betrayal is to quietly reclaim what is yours and move forward with dignity. True power comes from knowing when to walk away and when to stand firm. After all, success is the greatest form of revenge.